The process of iron oxide recovery is not always done on an industrial scale. At Stream Restoration Incorporated and Clean Creek Products, pigments are being extracted and supplied directly to artists. Once again, the goal is to offset maintenance costs.
There's this material that accumulates. A lot of it is iron-bearing material, some of it is manganese-bearing material.
They have been removed and the material has been dried, and then they had to go through a screen that separate the material by size.
At passive treatment sites here in the Appalachian Coal region near Pittsburgh, it is estimated that 50 tons of iron and manganese can be collected every 10 years.
I happen to have some of this material in my office, and a potter who happened to be my best friend for 48 years came in and recognized that this material was what she would pay money for. We want to get money back to the watershed groups to maintain their systems and to help continue to clean up the streams. And I'm thinking we can include potters. They become the solution also.
Pottery especially, I think it really, when somebody gets a mug that they really like, they really develop a relationship with it. And I got to watching people, and when somebody would pick out a mug, they would have to hold every mug. They wouldn't come up and grab one mug. They would go all the way around, and sometimes they'd go around again before they found that mug. We had just made a bunch of beer mugs for the brewery in Slippery Rock, and it just so happened that several of the people that worked for Clean Creek frequented the brewery. They had all this manganese and iron, and they were trying to find useful ways to get rid of it. And we had manganese and iron, and we mixed up about 4 glazes. Coarser than what we buy commercially, and I guess more pure than what we buy commercially. As I would come up with these different glaze applications, splash them over each other, then they would give it a name from one of the streams that they had worked on.
Local establishments got involved, a local brewery ordered mugs, then they donated, without me even asking, money back to the watershed group. Instead of taking this material that has to be cleaned out of the systems anyway and disposing of it in a landfill, here we could actually have a commercial value to it.
One of the things that we're trying to do with Clean Creek Products is to develop a market that we could sell a large quantity of this material, maybe for some sort of green building products like a brick or a tile.
We're looking for sustainability. We're looking to get more and more people involved in what we're doing. Personally, I think chemistry is exciting. That does not always seem to be the case when we're talking with a lot of people in the community. It was so important for us to show the value of what we could do to help the community in bringing fish back to streams that hadn't had fish for a century. The technology was new. We were developing it as we were going, and we were fortunate to work with Jennings Environmental Education Center where we could try some of the technology out before we implemented it.
We are a state park, one of 120 state parks in Pennsylvania. We are a resource-based educational facility, meaning our primary function here is to manage some of the unique natural resources for students and the general public to learn more about them. We also have an abandoned bituminous coal mine. This abandoned coal mine has basically been rehabilitated into an active demonstration area that features several different methods of passively treating abandoned mine drainage.
This pond is doing most of the primary treatment of the abandoned mine drainage right now. It's called a vertical flow pond. It's a pond that's filled with limestone and spent mushroom compost. This pond was built in 1997 and it's been successfully treating the mine drainage since then, at least chemically anyway. It's one of the highest alkalinity generating systems of its kind. Many systems within the watershed throughout Pennsylvania are modeled on this type of system.
There is more than just passive treatment going on here. Land reclamation, mine water experimentation, active water treatment systems, a macroinvertebrate sampling platform, even the restoration of a coal-era schoolhouse, all made possible through the support of local companies and educational institutions.
They partner with industry and get a phenomenal amount of work done that pertains to really not just economic health, but to human health. in the coalfield communities in which they work.
Jennings is open to anyone who wants to experiment and explore.
All you gotta do is ask. The water going into the pond is raw mine drainage with a pH of about 3, iron anywhere from 50 to 70 parts per million, and a whole lot of aluminum. By the time this water hits Big Run, pH is at 7 with an iron of less than 0.5, in some cases less than 0.1, and 0 aluminum, so incredibly successful.
We have taken that passive treatment system and developed into educational programs, interpretive media around it, and shared that with other counties, other states, other countries. We've had people visit from all over the world here at Jennings.
Peru, Brazil, South Africa, South Korea, they've come to Pennsylvania to look at what is happening with passive treatment and watershed restoration.
We try to get as much community support as we can. And we have about 15 passive systems in the headwaters of Slippery Rock Creek.
We set up a small volunteer program where a volunteer will adopt a passive treatment system. They go out to the system, they do some basic water testing. They measure the pH, the alkalinity, and the iron concentrations and take flow measurements. And then they can enter that information into a program, a website called Datashed that tracks all that information.
We've had people, kids, that have planted wetlands come back years later and see how their wetland was doing.
We encourage our grantees to prepare for the next generation to take over. That is the future.
So I think if we're going to perpetuate this, we need to have the young people's support, and it's really wonderful when they support what we're doing.